So I am going to this share page. So our bands. So home workouts using bands to overload a lift. So progressive overload with bands. So it's not going to be a normal Instagram activation workout, which I hate. I hate the word activation, but I use it myself. I don't know why. I need to stop. So you always see people saying, activate me glutes before I squat. If you couldn't, or if you didn't have your glutes activated before you squat, you wouldn't be able to walk. Okay? The only people that don't have their glutes activated are babies, probably, so they can't walk. All right, so getting away from that kind of term and stop with all these crab walks. All right, so bands, elastic bands. I did two different colors because we have two different color bands in the gym. Purple and red. Okay, so the properties of elastic mean that more you stretch, the more tension is created, and then when that tension is gone, the band always wants to go to its resting length. Okay, so fairly simple and fairly obvious. Okay, so lift's going to be harder when there's more tension, or there's going to be more load on it because of the tension, and then when there's no tension, there'll be no load. All right, so the pros of it, things that are good with bands. So bands cause variable resistance, like I said, tension, hard, no tension, or when the band's slack, no resistance. So it's mainly an ascending strength curve. Okay, so what that basically means is the hardest at the concentric phase. The concentric phase is the shortening of your muscle. All right, so most muscular force in that. All right, so basically at the top of most exercises. All right. Help overload top portion of the lift, where the lift gets easier due to the biomechanical advantage. Okay, so that's just your leverage. All right, so an example of that would be doing a bench. Okay, so if you have the bar at the top, you have 100 kg on it, you go all the way down, you're at a biomechanical disadvantage here, so it's going to be really hard to get it up from here. And then you're coming up and it gets easier, easier, and easier. Once you have bands on, you go down to the bottom. The bands have really little slack now. Okay, so it's going to be easier there. When you start pressing up, the bands create more tension. So it's going to be harder now in this part. Okay, so that's why bands are good. Then that concentric phase and that very last phase is when it's going to be hard. Okay, so that's why bands are good. Can teach beginners good proprioception of the body. So that's just body awareness. You can do that through RT. We've done squats before with bands around your knees. Feel it in your glutes a little bit more. And then the last one, direction of resistance band is in the plane of motion we want. So rehab is perfect for it. And I know I see a lot of people, you probably see it when you go to the gym and they're doing that external rotation with the light weight for the shoulders. But when they're doing it with a weight like this, gravity is pushing that weight down. So you're not really getting the whole idea of externally rotating your shoulders. That's why we use bands for that. And this is why it's better than using weights like that. All right. Or if you're doing kind of ankle mobility, obviously you can't do that with a weight, but you can do it in the direction you actually want to work your ankle. If it's left, right, up or down. All right. Now the cons, the load, it's hard to quantify. So how are you supposed to know how much load you're lifting? If you have a barbell on your back, you squat down, you come all the way up, how are you supposed to know how much tension is on the band? We won't really get into it, to be honest, because it's a bit confusing. But basically what you have to do is have the bar on your back, go on a weighing scales, weigh yourself, take yourself off, do the exact same thing with the bands on, and then do a calculation to that. If you want me to send you on how to do it, I will, but to be honest, I don't think you really need to. All right. Another bad thing or con of bands is they deteriorate. So constantly use them, wear and tear, they're going to rip, they get a little bit weaker. Okay. Mainly for well-trained athletes. That's when you're kind of going into that band resistance training. But obviously, we're trying to use it for a different reason. All right. And they're a bit awkward to set up sometimes. So that's kind of leading us into this last thing now, the practical, and what we're going to do next week for our bands. So practical, nice and simple. I'll just put out some main exercises. So deadlift, bench, squat is definitely going to be in our program. Probably going to be some unilateral work, so single leg deadlift, reverse lunge probably, overhead press. So that's overhead press it's supposed to be. And then single arm rows. So you can probably use a band for all of them. Now, equipment wise, I know a lot of people have barbells, a lot of people have kettlebells and dumbbells. So firstly, what do I need? I need a band. Is there any red bands? 2 seconds. Grab the barbell. Grab a dumbbell. Now some people have dumbbells. I'll go nice and light. And a kettlebell. And then next up, I need my red band. So, any questions at the very end, or if you have any other exercises that when you use a band for, then you can say it. If you want, if you probably don't have any bands, but you can test this out with me. So the first exercise we're going to do is a barbell deadlift, and how you set it up. All right, so I think the smartest thing to do is get out of that so you can see me on the full screen. All right. So barbell deadlift, what you're going to do, go a little bit lower. How do you set it up? So what you're going to have to do is throw the band around, loop it around the bar. From there, you're going to have to step in, so the band is under your midsole. Okay, obviously there's going to be 2 weights on the side. From there, so it's around your midsole, no tension on it, so it's going to be nice and easy. And then when you, obviously doing good techniques, squeeze your shoulder blades, coming back up, the further you come up, the more tension there's going to be in the band, so you're going to be lifting more load. Okay, so that's your first one. If you have a barbell, standing into it, now you'll be linked all these, don't worry. I'll send it on a video. If you have a dumbbell, what you can do is, so this is going to be your RDLs, let me think. You probably need 2 dumbbells, but okay. Exact same setup. I'm just going to use one for the time being. Holding on to the band, obviously, band in my hand, holding on to the dumbbell. Hinging down, less tension at the end, drive up, squeeze your bum, and more at the top, okay? If you want to make that harder, what you can do is pull it across, okay? Do the exact same thing, up and down. So shortening that distance of the band, or if you want, make it even further out. Does that make sense? All right, make it really easy. Get a lot of tension off it. All right, same thing with a kettlebell. Probably don't have to show you that one. All right, so just tie it on and pick it up. It's mainly with your hands with that one. Second one, bit of a tough one, is your squats. All right, so 2 ways you can do this with your squats. Probably the best way is doing the mini band one with the knee valgus. So putting the band around your knees, then doing your squats. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit more of a resistance up and down. Obviously, the band around there. If you want to use a bar or a band, if you're doing goblet squats, what you have to do, tie the band on nice and tight. What I'd say to you is when you're doing it, is probably tie it around 3 or 4 times. So you have loads and loads of knots. You get the idea. To make it harder, I'll just tie it around a couple of times. Stand into the band, nice and wide. And then the exact same thing. Now it's going to be quite hard to actually pick it up at the start. So I go low, put it in your chest. Now when I go up, this is going to try pull myself forward. So keeping that nice tall chest is really important. Okay, the exact same thing, up and down. So you're creating that triangle for your squats. All right. Barbell. Let me think. Ideally, you'd need 2. You'd need 2 bands. Let me think. What's the best way to do it with this one? To be honest, I'd say the best one to do for your the barbell is the knee valgus one. If you had 2 bands, you could loop it around one side, loop it around the other side, and have 2 dumbbells on the ground and loop it around there, and then do your squats. But a lot of people only have 1 band. Okay, so I'm trying to make this more relatable to use than the general public. Third one was your bench. So this is your horizontal bench press. This is probably one of the better ones to do. Now, Rob, I don't have a bench. You can still do this on the ground. Don't worry. So, very similar to your deadlift one, you're going to have to put the band in your hands first, okay? So like you're putting on a school bag, if you want, you can loop it underneath. All right. Now you can see the cons of it. It's very awkward. Okay, from that position, you can grab 2 dumbbells, exact same thing, up and down, and then you have that band as a resistance. Okay, you don't have a bench. Any difference? No, straight onto the back, up and down. Okay, so bands constantly pull me down. All right, exact same thing. If you want to do a push-up, flip over, you have the band across your back. Okay, now kind of going into your single arm stuff. So this could be your single arm row, your single leg deadlifts, what we're doing because you're using kettlebells and dumbbells, is very similar. You're getting the idea now. Holding on to, say, I'll do it on my good side so I don't fall over. Left foot in, holding on to my right hand, and I'm going to hold the dumbbell on top of that. Okay, so now I have the resistance of the band and the dumbbell. Okay, and then you're going to hinge back, do your deadlift, nice and easy at the bottom, and then drive back up. Okay, so what I'd say to you when you're doing any of these with the band, nice and controlled on the way down, and then try to be explosive as you can on the way up. So your intent of how fast you're doing it into the or coming back up should be really snappy. All right. Single arm row or your chainsaw row, which we've been doing, stepping into the band. You're getting the idea. Hold on to it. So to my right hand, elbow down, hinge over, and then row from there. Okay, so I'm rowing my elbow towards my lower back, and the band's obviously using as another resistance. Overhead press. Let me see. Holding onto the band. Loop it into the band, you can. Driving up, down. It's probably best, to be honest, instead of seeing the way that I did it there, looping it at the end, it's probably best to have it in your hand, because when you have it in looped around the dumbbell, it's going to pull one side of the dumbbell over, so your equilibrium or your balance is going to be off. So loop it around your hand every time to get the most resistance out of that. Okay, so that's for your overhead. You can obviously do that double by standing into it, standing into the band. Okay, if you have a barbell, hold the barbell in your hands, and then exact same thing overhead. All right, reverse lunge. Let me think. Is there one you can do for reverse lunge? Okay, so we have front rack, don't we? Front rack reverse lunge. See, the squat ones are the knee dominant ones are kind of the harder ones because it's more to do with the mini band. You could still do exact same setup, a contralateral movement. So left knee, right hand, big lunge back. Don't want to kick that barbell. Nice and easy at the end, no tension, and then drive it up, most tension. Okay. Any other ones? It's mainly the first 3 that we need to look at. So that was your deadlift, bench, and your squat. Are the ones we need to progress every week. The other ones we can kind of change up the complexity of it or make the exercise a little bit harder. But they're the main ones. So mainly your deadlift and your bench. The squat one is, unless you have 2 bands and heavy dumbbells, you mightn't get away with it. But that's the mini band one. Do you have any questions on any of them? Any exercises, how to progress?
Rob, just with like the weights, when you're adding the resistance band, should you be dropping down the weight or should you be staying at the weight that you're at and adding the band on?
Well, good question. It's dependent. If you have been doing the same weight for the last 6 weeks or whatever we've been doing it now, and it's getting really easy, and you find that you've just constantly gone up reps every week, then what I'd say to you is start adding in the resistance band. If you find that your technique isn't there yet, or maybe you can improve your range of motion first, get a little bit deeper in things. And then I'd stick at the same weight, or even go lighter and improve your technique. Like I was saying last week about your posture and your speed and your movement first. So they're first things that you need to correct, and then you can start adding in the band, okay? Because the band's going to be testing you a little bit more on that concentric phase.
Okay.
Any other questions? Are you watching the football? Are you even watching me?
Sorry, I was on mute there. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm all good.
Yeah, you have nothing. All right. I think that's pretty much it. I will have the new programs in by the weekend. And if there's any new exercises in it, there probably might be, well, obviously there's going to be a few new exercises. I'm going to try put in, maybe just take videos of myself of doing the exercise with bands. I'll throw it into the WhatsApp. All right. Any other questions on that before I let you go?
No, thanks, Rob.
No.
Cheers, Rob.
Greg, enjoy that little hotel you're in there.
Will do.
Right, good luck. See you there.
Okay.
Bye.
Good man.